So you guys are unmuted, but I'm gonna see if I have to have you guys leave the room and come back in because of the camera.
Okay, folks, we're trying to get this set up, if you can hear us. It may take a few more minutes for you to be able to see us.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Photoshop.
You guys are good?
Melanie, can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
I see Melanie. Can you hear us, Melanie?
Yes, we can hear you.
We
Can
can't
you hear me?
you yet. We can't hear you yet. So, no,
Okay,
it might be on our side, Melanie. Yeah, it might be on our side, so.
Okay.
Testing.
There we go.
Okay, we can hear you now, Melanie. Thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
Morning.
thank you.
Or Melanie had to be our tester.
Good morning, everyone. Mark Patterson, Chair of Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission. Thank you for being with us. We'll call this meeting to order. So happy to greet all of you this morning here from beautiful Kaneohe at the foothills of the Po'olau on the campus of the Windward Community College. It's always good to be here. Well, this is our first time on this side of the island, so love it here, love it here. No traffic. Driving to the meeting. Anyway, let's do a roll call real quick. Ronald Ibarra.
You're muted, Ron.
Oh, here.
Yep. Martha Tournay,
Here.
Mike Town here, Mark Brown
Here.
and then Mark Patterson here. All of our commissioners are present here today. Thank you so much. I'm gonna do let's take care of one quick business item real now. I'll take a motion to accept the meetings of the Thursday, July 10th, 2025 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Judge Town and seconded by Martha that we accept this meeting minutes for Thursday, July 10th, 2025. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say same. Any abstention? Okay, motion passed. Thank you, everyone, on that. Before we get into our first agenda items, just want to get a flow for everyone, for the public who are here. When we in my attempts to manage the agenda that you folks had, it took off our website. We're going to have a discussion or a presentation on the agenda item, and then I'm going to open up the floor to public testimony on that agenda item only. And then we're going to have, after public testimony is closed, we'll have a discussion among the commissioners and do the business at that time. I want to make note, when we do our public testimonies from the community, which is very valuable to us in the process that have been mandated to do, your testimony is to the commissioners, not the presenters. Yeah. So questions are asked to us, and then we would ask that you keep your testimonies for 2 minutes. And then number 3, stay to the agenda item that is being addressed at the time. At the end of the meeting, we will have an open public testimony where you can bring up any issues that you might want us to follow up on or share with us at that time. So that's our public testimonies and the way that it will be managed today and every time that we meet. So thank you, folks, for that. Now, good morning, Melanie. Thank you for being here. We're going to move on to agenda number 4, the monthly update from the Department of Corrections. I understand the director couldn't be here, so you will be representing DCR at this time. Thank you.
Aren't you so lucky?
Yes,
I'm just
we
kidding.
are.
I'm just kidding. So Director Johnson couldn't be here today. He sends his regrets. He really doesn't have any updates for the OCCC or any other of our facilities at this time. But I am here to take notes and to take back any questions you might have for the director and the department. So thank you for letting me be here.
All right, thank you, Melanie, for that, your presence here at this time. We're going to move on to item number 5, and we're very excited to have this presentation today. Dr. McBree, did I say that right?
Yes.
Yeah, Dr. McBree is a clinical psychologist from the Hawaii State Hospital, covering an overview of the Hawaii Revised Statute 704-404 legal process, which pertains to the examination of a criminal defendant's mental or physical condition when their fitness to proceed or responsibility for conduct is an issue in the case. This is a very important topic for the commission at this time. In our tours of the counties and the jails, as well as the prisons, we are aware of the increase of the mental health concern in every facility. And we want to make an understanding at the front end of our system, what happens in the judiciary in regards to mental health
Hello.
intake and assessment and evaluation, and how are they filling up?
Go on the agenda and then it has the Microsoft Teams.
Ron, can you?
Ron, please mute yourself, Ron.
Yeah,
Can you
go-
mute him?
yeah, I'm on it. I'm on it now.
Ron Yoshi, please mute
He's
yourself.
muted. He's muted now. George did it.
Oh, okay.
So without no further ado, Dr. McBride.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. I am Dr. Baker Brady. I am a clinical and forensic psychologist. I work at Hawaii State Hospital. I was trained clinically and I'm board certified in forensic psychology. And I'm very passionate about forensics and its interplay between the justice system and mental health. And I could take 3 days to talk to you guys about competency and NGRI and all that stuff, but I'm going to try to condense it to around 30. So in trying to structure my slide deck, I liked to kind of focus it on the who, what, where, when, why, and how. So to try to condense everything. And the caveat of this is that I know about this system, I've lived this system, so I might use phrases or terms that I just assume everyone else knows. So feel free to stop me if I'm going too quickly, or if I am assuming that something is common knowledge and it's only my knowledge. But I wanted to start with the what. So the what, oh, sorry. Do you want me to take the clicker finger? So what? So legal fitness and penal responsibility. So legal fitness is the statutory language for the state of Hawaii. We call it legal fitness. In other jurisdictions, it's called competency to proceed. So I'll probably interchange those two phrases throughout this presentation. But competency or fitness to proceed is someone's current cognitive capacity or state of mind to proceed through their legal case. So in HRS 704-403, it's defined as no person who, as a result of a physical or mental disease, disorder, or defect, who lacks capacity to either understand the proceedings against them or assist in their own defense shall be tried, convicted, or sentenced for the commission of an offense, so as long as such incapacity endures. And I'll go more into competency to proceed or fitness to proceed on the next couple of slides. But what I want to take out of this is fitness is the here and now. It is someone experiencing a mental health crisis or episode that is impacting their ability to work with their attorney, to engage in a reasonable decision-making process, or to weigh the evidence in order to move forward with a defense strategy. And if they're exhibiting those symptoms, then should be questioned. penal responsibility is a different state of time. It's at the time of alleged conduct. And this is more, penal responsibility is what is kind of more commonly known as not guilty by reason of insanity, or NGRI. So that's for conduct at the time of the crime alleged. So no, a person is not responsible for conduct at the time of the conduct. As a result, here you go, physical or mental disease, disorder, or defect. They lack substantial capacity to either appreciate the wrongfulness of their actions or conform their actions to the requirements of the law. So,
You used it, the initial thing, GRI, let's explain it.
oh, yes, thank you so much. NGRI stands for not guilty by reason of insanity. So in Hawaii, it's called not penally responsible. So someone is adjudicated NGRI, they're found, they're acquitted of their charges and committed typically to the Hawaii State Hospital. Thank you for this. Yes, of course. So fitness to proceed is the here and now. Penal responsibility is a retrospective kind of evaluation of whether someone had a mental health episode that was impacting their ability to make a conscious choice or make reasonable decisions at the time. So who evaluates the defendant? And we're going to move on to the who. In Hawaii, we have a panel system. We're one of the few states, if not the only, that employs a panel system for felony charges. So for felony charges for both fitness and penal responsibility, there's a 3-panel. They have to consist of psychiatrists, psychologists, or qualified physicians, and one of the 3 has to be from the department, directed by the director of health. So they are, for all intents and purposes, a state employee, and the other 2 are contract employees that are taken from a list of private evaluators. For non-felony cases, so for misdemeanor and petty misdemeanor charges, it's only 1 qualified examiner, and that examiner is from the director. So the why, this is the big ticket item. So why do we care if someone is competent? Why do you care if someone is fit to move forward with their case? Well, this is grounded in a landmark Supreme Court case from the 1960s, the U.S. Rodetsky versus the United States. And they found that trying someone who is so mentally ill that they cannot understand their charges, they can't assist in their defense, or they can't make reasonable logical decisions is akin to trying them what they call in absentia, or as if they weren't even there. So the Rodetsky standards require that someone has a sufficient present ability to consult with counsel with a reasonable degree of rational understanding and a rational as well as factual understanding of the proceedings against them. And I'll kind of break this down in the next slide. But proceeding with someone's legal case, if someone is incompetent to proceed or unfit or too mentally ill to understand what's going on, it really goes against the integrity and the fidelity of the justice system. You're under the assumption that there are 2 sides trying to prove a point, and both of those sides are well equipped with, all the ammunition they need to prove their point. And if someone, the defendant, is too mentally ill to provide alibis, to consult with their counsel, to provide witnesses, then it's not on. All legal jurisdictions in every state have something akin to Dusty. So again, the 403 statute that I referenced earlier, you'll see there's pieces of Dusty within our statute. So the ability to understand the proceedings and to assist in their own defense. Those are kind of the 2 core pillars of Dusty, is the understanding and the ability, from which we will go through. So just kind of a legal fitness or competency breakdown. I won't spend a lot of time on this slide. It's just more to give people a background of what competency is and why it's important. So if you look at HRS or Dusty, there's kind of the knowledge component, and these are all of the kind of big ticket items when you're looking at if I'm going to go through a legal proceeding, I'm going to need to know what I'm charged with. I'm going to need to know what sentencing options there are. I'm going to need to know who's who in the court. I'm going to need to know if I plead guilty, what that means, right? That's kind of the knowledge prong, and you have that ability. The other part, which I think is the more complex part, is the appreciation prong. It's more of the ability. So this is the ability to communicate with your attorney. If I'm experiencing a thought disorder in which my thoughts are jumbled and I'm speaking bubbles and my brain's not understanding me, that's going to really impact my ability to consult with them and assist my defense. Being able to engage appropriately in court, being able to testify if I need to. How I think about the appreciation prong of rational understanding is taking the information I learned in the knowledge and applying my own case, right? So I know what guilty means, but I'm not going to be found guilty because I own the Hawaiian Islands, so therefore I own the judiciary, so therefore I'm not guilty, right? So I know what it means, but I can't apply it to my case because of a mental health condition. So this is a big slide, and this is what I'm going to spend most of my time, because this is, this is the meat and potatoes, and this is the where, when, and how does this. So, everyone who walks into what you say hospital or into jail is arrested for some sort of crime. They go to jail, they have their imminent plea hearing. It's typically within the initial processes of the court, but sometimes it can be later on. If anyone in court questions someone's ability to understand the charges or assist in their own defense, a motion for competency evaluation can be put for the judge. There have been times where we've had people at the hospital where the judge has asked for a competency. It's typically the public defender communicating with their defendant, but anyone in court who questions competency can ask for a hearing. Once there is a suspicion of incompetence, they become what's called a 404 legal status. Basically, what that does, it lets the panel know we have concerns about competency. Can you please come and evaluate? So the 404 process, this is typically done within DCR custody because in order to move from a 404, which is a pre-adjudication of competency or incompetency, to a 406, which is the finding of incompetency, is that panel. So a panel has to come, either one panel for a misdemeanor, 3 panel for a felony, and they're going to ask the defendants all these questions. What are your charges? What's the maximum sentence? Who is on your side in court? What do you want to plead? Why do you want to plead that? Do you have a mental health disorder? Like all of the things that anyone kind of in this room would need to know to move forward with their case. They're going to ask them. If they don't have a mental health disorder that's impacting their ability to engage in that panel process, they're going to be competent. So 404 doesn't have to become a 406. If someone comes into, there are a lot of reasons that someone might look like they're having a mental health episode, like active substance use, and by the time they see the panel, it's gone out of their system and they're completely, able to engage in that process. There's also individuals who'd rather not talk to their attorney because they don't want to move forward with their charges. So me not wanting to move forward isn't an incompetence issue. It's more of a personality issue. So those individuals would hopefully see the panel and they'd say, well, there's no professional condition, there's no mental health disorder here, so there's no question of competency. If the individual is exhibiting psychiatric symptoms or mood symptoms that are impacting their ability to move forward, the panels will submit a report to the court, and that opinion will be that they are incompetent to proceed. It's at that point that they go from being a 404, which is a question of incompetency, to a 406, which is a finding of incompetency. At that hearing, we have the state hospital has 72 hours to accept the individual as soon as they are found incompetent. Once they come to Hawaii State Hospital, our goals for individuals within this 704 process are really medications and fitness programming. The target treatment is to get them fit to proceed so they can move on with their legal case. For all intents and purposes, they're going to be at the hospital for as long as they need to until we can, get them fit to proceed. So we do fitness classes, we do fitness one-to-ones, we do practice panel evaluations, and those are kind of under the purview of psychology and social work. But I'll have to give credit where credit is due. I can teach people all about what the judge does all day, but if they are so psychotic, they can't pay attention to what I'm saying, I'm gonna get nowhere without medications. So medications and fitness programming are the keys to success when it comes to regaining competency to proceed. Once the treatment team at Hawaii State Hospital believes someone has the ability to move forward with their case, we can request that panel that came back when they were in DCR custody to come back and reevaluate them again. They can make the same two opinions. No, they continue to be incompetent or unfit. They need to stay at the hospital, or yes, they are now ready to move on with their case. Once they are deemed competent, they go back to DCR custody to await trial. And they have the option, these are the main four, of course, we know there's other plea options to these four, but for the sake of brevity, guilty, not guilty, no contest, and the one that we're really concerned with the 704 process is the not guilty by reason of insanity and GRI, or not penally responsible. So again, if you can tell, fitness is how they're doing at the hospital. If they're active, they're not actively symptomatic, they're able to look at their attorney. NGRI is how were they months, weeks, years ago when that crime was committed. So the panel will evaluate them not for fitness, but they'll evaluate for penal responsibility. If the panel believes that at the time of the crime, the individual was not in the state of mind to be held responsible for their action, the judge will acquit them by reason of insanity, and majority of the time commit them to Hawaii State Hospital. So, say majority of the time, there are some individuals with maybe minor charges that will be acquitted and granted a release, which we'll talk about later. But majority of individuals are acquitted by reason of insanity and committed to Hawaii State Hospital. At that point, they're at Hawaii State Hospital for no less than 90 days. So some patients come in after being acquitted and committed and say, "Hey, not 90 days." No, less than 90 days. You have to be here. You guys have probably heard that one, right? You guys have to be here for at least 90 days before we can petition for the court. So the treatment focus shifts at Hawaii State Hospital from competency and fitness, because they've been found fit, they've chosen to go NGRI, and it's now about treatment, rehabilitation, and safety. So, because now we're not looking at whether they're ready to move forward with the legal process, we're looking at if they're ready to move forward into the community, and how we safely reintegrate people into the community and take into account their risk factors and their protections. So this could take, for some individuals, it could only take the 90 days. It could take 3 months. It could take 3 years. It could take 30 years. There is no maximum time frame that someone can be at the hospital for an NGRI.
Oh.
That's because when I plead guilty, I am sentenced, right? I did something wrong. I'm admitted to it. I'm going to be there. This is the punishment. You sit in the corner for 5 minutes and think about what you've done. When I plead NGRI, I'm saying I don't need punishment. I need treatment. And how long could I need treatment? Potentially for the rest of my life. So it's really up to the patient to demonstrate safe behaviors for a prolonged period of time. It's up to the treatment team to find them a safe discharge option that would meet all of their needs. And it's really up to the community to, sometimes there's a couple of individuals that the treatment team thinks that they are on their pathway out, but the community is just not ready to, accept them back without certain conditions. So we really have to work as a team, because the whole goal is reintegration and having the treatment needs of the individual fit with the need for community safety. If that's not going to happen, then they're not going to be let out of the hospital. Once we believe that someone has satisfied all those conditions, we can't just say, hey, they're ready to go. We have to ask our friends, the panel, to come back. And the panel now is going to shift their focus from competency to safety and discharge from the community. So does this person have a safe place to go? Do they have insight into their continued need for treatment? Do they understand the mental illness? They're going to have to check in with the psychiatrist and the case manager. Is the discharge placement an adequate fit for their level of needs? Do they have supervision and support? If the panel does not believe that they're ready, then they stay at Hawaii State Hospital for as long as necessary. If the panel believes that someone is ready to be discharged onto conditional release, they become a 415 legal status. And I will explain more what CR and conditional release is. So conditional release is like probation, but with mental health terms. So not only do they have to check in with the probation officer, they have to run through their drug screens, they have to stay where the court tells them to stay away from drugs and alcohol. They also have to see a psychiatrist, take a medication, and interact with a case manager. So that is one of it's basically probation with mental health problems. So when someone is on conditional release, they do well, then they never have to come back to the hospital again. That's awesome. And we have a lot of people who do really well on conditional release and they never have to see my face again. For misdemeanors, conditional release lasts 1 year. So from the day that I'm discharged, if I do well on conditional release, August 14th, 2026, I will be discharged from CR. For felonies, conditional release could last as long as the patient, I guess, or client needs it, right? So I could be on CR, and some people are on CR for felonies for longer time periods than had they just served their sentence. So conditional release for felonies is indefinite. Conditional release for misdemeanors is 1 year. So if someone is going out and doing well, then they don't come back to the hospital. Unfortunately, if someone goes out and violates their conditional release in some way, the outpatient treatment team can petition the court to send them back to the hospital as what's called a 413-1. So a 413 is a violation of conditional release. So the way I like to think about it is not all 411s become 413. So not all people who have been NGRI'd violate their CRs, but everyone who's a 413 has at some point been a 411.
Yeah.
So it's usually the trifecta of violations is someone stops using or stops taking their medications, starts using substances. One of those three, and I would win almost every time. So those are the three main treatment targets that when they are readmitted to the hospital, that's what we're looking at. What happened? Oh, you stopped your medications, you had a resurgence of symptoms, and then you used methamphetamine to self-medicate. Let's get you some symptom management classes. Let's put you in some substance use classes. And we're trying to look at the patterns of behaviors that have gotten them into trouble before and try to target treatment to focus on those types of behaviors. So, oh my gosh, I forgot my extra special bonus section on the top here. So this isn't really it's part of the 704 process just because I think it's important to note, because I'll be talking about it a little bit later. So we're going to rewind 10 minutes until I never talk about CR. We're going to go back to competency or fitness, right? The fitness statute presumes that someone's going to be able to regain fitness, right? It makes that assumption that, and I don't like saying regain because it makes it sound like they had the capacity in the beginning, and some of them will never have. So if the individual comes, there are certain types of diagnoses that are just, no matter what we do, no matter what we try, they're just not amenable to treatment in that way. So hospitalizing someone with something like a neurocognitive disorder, dementia, where they can barely remember where they are, how are they supposed to remember everything they need to know about the court system, right? Someone with intellectual disability who's never going to be able to really capture the nuances of what they need to know in the court system. If you put someone at Hawaii State Hospital as incompetent or unfit, who have those types of diagnoses and you're expecting them to be fit, it's basically a life sentence at the hospital. So in the 70s, the Supreme Court got a hold of this. And as a result, we have, within a reasonable amount of time, the treatment team has to provide an opinion on whether someone can be restored. So reasonable is one of those kind of legal terms that they love, because what is reasonable, right? For a misdemeanor, reasonable could be a few months. For a felony A, it could be a few years. How much time would we need to decide that someone, no matter what we try, no matter what we do, they're never going to be restored to fitness? Now, research shows that 90% of individuals can be restored within the year with treatment. So if you're looking at someone who's treatment compliant for more than a year, year and a half, 2 years, it might be something else going on other than a psychotic mood disorder. It might be a memory issue, maybe a cognitive issue, learning disability. So if the person's been at the hospital for a prolonged amount of time, we don't think that there's anything that we can do to help them move forward with their legal case, then we ask for the panel to come back, but this time they're looking at their ability to be restored. Is this person ever going to have the capacity to move forward with their case? If they say yes, then we keep trying. If they say no, then they are found unrestorable and they're civilly committed. If the panel believes that they're dangerous, they're civilly committed, or they're discharged. The panel does not believe that they're dangerous. So we have individuals who are no longer legally encumbered, but at one point they were legally encumbered. So those are your individuals that we have one right now. He had a criminal trespass, one charge, so he was trespassing on a hotel, and he has dementia. So about a year later, he was found unrestorable, but the team believed that he could not meet his needs for basic care. He wouldn't be able to find housing. He wouldn't be able to care for himself or take his medications. So we asked that they civilly commit him instead of just discharging someone who couldn't take care of themselves. So that's kind of an example of someone who had a mental health disorder that was to the extent that they were found unrestorable. And because we didn't think that he was a danger to himself if we released him, he was civilly committed. So no longer there on the trespass charge, but any questions on it? That is a big slide. So probably half my time talking about it. Or we could wait till the end. Okay, awesome. So just a shout out to the misdemeanors. I was asked that it was people are curious about how many misdemeanors that we have in Hawaii State Hospital. As of yesterday, when I checked our census, we had 18 petty misdemeanors. So these are the legal statuses that we have associated with those individuals. 421 is a legal status I didn't really get into. Those individuals are here for a short period of time in order for us to assess whether they meet criteria for civil commitment. We try to get them appropriate housing. For all intents and purposes, they're unfit, and if they are unfit for more than 7 days, then the court is that they're not dangerous. So we have 5 421s, 4 406s, so 4 that are unfit. We have 5 that have been found not really responsible for NGRI, and we have 4 MH6s, so the ones that were initially unfit and then found unrestorable and civilly committed. The length of stay for our petty misdemeanors is 2012 to 2025, and 8 of these patients have been hospitalized for over 8 months. In terms of how many individuals we have with misdemeanor cases, right now we have 3 404s. So the 404s are the ones who typically would get assessed in DCR, but usually the public defender for medical necessity asks that they wait for their initial evaluation at the hospital. So that's a 404. Then you have 34 406s. Those are the individuals who are found incompetent after sees them. 411s to 413s, we have 15 of those individuals, and then 12 MH6s, so 12 civil commitments. The range, the length of stay is from 1997 to 2025. 22 of these individuals have been hospitalized for over 1 year, and 17 more of them have been hospitalized for 2 years. So someone had asked me, said that the council might be interested in this number, so I pulled it up yesterday. But this, and don't hate me for this. This last one is,
Oh my God.
I can send whoever wants it. This is a kind of mock-up of the 704 process that I created, and don't try to read it on your papers. I think that for you. But I can send you the actual view. I can send you George the Word document that I have it on that was being trying to, make it into a slide. But it's all of the my nonsensical ramblings and a nice little. So I thought that captures a lot more of the I think details of the 704 process. So I'm happy to share that with you guys. But that is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Your visuals are indeed an example of the complexity and why you're
And the
here
other bus you got.
to help us.
Possible I made the print. I could have probably made a little bit more color on it, but.
Wow.
So we got.
Let's do this real quick.
Yeah.
George, can you bring back everyone from the screen? And something, we're gonna have asked questions, they're gonna ask us questions.
Okay, great.
In the room.
and she
Okay.
said she's open to taking questions too.
Okay. I just want to see them, George, if possible. We're going to open up this next section for public testimony. Please wave at us or raise a hand digitally, and we can ask your questions, and we'll have the doctor respond. If you have any testimonial questions at this time.
There's Bob Darby. He wants a jail.
Yes. We're in the room. Go ahead.
Hi, Chris.
You may want to bring a gel with this. See?
Or so you can hear.
There's some very better.
I need this one for reporters. Oh, there's the microphone. Okay, cool. Sorry. I was wondering, I noticed an increase in seniors and baby teachers in the last few years. I was wondering particularly, significantly, something I think might be in terms of the number of admissions that are misdemeanors. I think that if I had to kind of think about it, I think it's the change in one of our statutes, which changed the amount of time that individuals were confined for a misdemeanor. So initially, honestly, people were confined at the hospital for longer than they served their full sentence. So we tried to course correct and make it more kind of comparable to the amount of time that they would have, had they been, adjudicated. So I think that it's more, you're seeing the same people over and over, but in more frequency, if that makes sense. So I think it was a change in the way that we proceeded with their charges. So if someone was initially committed for a misdemeanor, they stay there for 60 days until their charges were dismissed. Now it's more like 10. So you'd see, so someone could potentially
In
be
and out.
readmitted 3 times in the time that they would have. So misdemeanors are petty. Non-violent. Right. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Of course.
Any questions online? Seeing none, commissioners? Comments?
Commissioners.
First of all, what's the current census at the state hospital and what percentage of those are?
I got old ears, Martha.
What's the current census at the state hospital? And of that, what percent are forensic cases versus other civil community
That is a great question. As of yesterday, it was 379. We're hovering around 375 to 380. And I can definitely get you the actual numbers from my my data sheet that I could pull. But if I had to estimate, it's probably, gosh, it's probably 80 to 90% forensic.
To 90%.
Forensic, yeah.
And then the 18 and the 64 misdemeanors that you just talked about, which is 82.
Yes.
On
So-
top of that are the felony.
Yes.
And that's
Yeah,
the
so I
80.
guess that would be a good maybe comparison. So if the 18 petty misdemeanors, 4 are civil. Of the 64 misdemeanors, 12 are civil. So those are the MH6s are the civil commitments. So you're just looking at kind of the percentages of those, and it probably mimics the whole.
If you're saying 80%, there's more than these two numbers.
These are only the misdemeanors.
Okay.
We have, the rest are felonies. So, the rest of I guess it would be around 280 or something.
So even though the MH6s are considered civil commitments, they still came in through the criminal justice system.
Yes.
So really, the state hospital is made up of forensic cases.
It's court, there's 4 courts.
And another question I had is, in the past, if an inmate severely decompensated while incarcerated and took that up set in stone, we were able to transfer them to the state hospital if we did not have the means to take care of them. Do any of those transfers, is that still allowed? Do any of the difference?
We, in the last year, I think we took 1 or 2.
Okay.
There's a certain MH, I think it's MH9. There's an avenue for that. Yeah.
Any more questions?
No.
Judge
I
Ibarra?
have a question. Yes, Doctor, first of all, I appreciate your chart. It's been a while since I sat in a criminal case since I've been retired now. But your commitments to the state hospital, these 704s or the 406s, are all court ordered. The criminal justice that go to the criminal justice or the civil commitments, correct?
Yes.
So do you know what happens to the, I call participants or defendants, before they came to the state hospital by court order, where they were placed, and how long it took for the panel to examine them after the arrest and brought to court?
Yeah, so we sometimes get them as 404s. So they are pre-panel. And it's, at this point, it's taking a little while to get the panels done. That's both for individuals who are in custody, but also individuals who are at the hospital, or individuals at the hospital that we believe are competent, and it's taking time to get them found fit. And so I think there's kind of a backlog in going both ways, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I know that the evaluators that I work with, particularly the state evaluators, are awesome, and they do a very good job, but they just don't have the resources right now, I think, to keep up with the demand. And it's a nationwide, it's called a competency crisis. There's a nationwide competency crisis where the referrals are much larger than our bandwidth is able to, so I guess Hawaii's not, unfortunately, we're not unique in that. This is a nationwide issue that on my listservs to talk about all the time, trying to decrease the time from the question of incompetency to the finding and trying to figure out where to best treat those individuals. Because some individuals don't need hospital level of care for competency restoration. They could do it outpatient because, the resources are slim. It's kind of, the hospital is a one size fits all. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah, I think it's taking I can't speak to DCR, but in the hospital, the judges are setting out competency. When I wrote a letter asking for a competency evaluation because I believed one of my patients was fit, and they set the court date out 2 months. So that's just my experience.
So there's people or defendants who have been arrested are awaiting competency 4-4 hearings while in jail. And while
Yes.
they're in jail, everything is suspended until the competency of the 4-4 hearing is completed.
Yes.
And how long have you experienced as far as a panel being appointed and the hearing taking place?
For the initial competency, I'm not quite sure. For review hearings, they typically set those every 90 days.
Okay. Do you know where these examinations take place? In jail, state hospitals, or?
That's good.
Yes, the initial evaluation takes place typically in PCR custody. I know the evaluators go to OCCC. I think they're trying to get more options in terms of telehealth and video conferencing with the outer islands, with their departments. And they do come to the hospital to conduct their evaluations.
And that has helped shorten the time for the examination by examining the person by video or phone. Is that right, you
Yes.
think?
Yes, definitely.
And do you have enough panel members to do the examination?
No, no. That's really, I mean, they are doing the best that they can with what they have, but they definitely need more help.
So our concern is as commission, as we oversee the jail population, and we've been visiting the jail, and I've always asked pretrial statuses, and it's a big concern that it's over 50% of the population in jail have not yet been convicted, whether they're under 404 examination or just awaiting to trial. But if they don't get their examination, they're just waiting in jail until the examination can be done. They won't go to state hospital, right?
Right.
And so
because there hasn't been an opinion that they have a mental illness that would impact their competency.
Okay, and how would they get to a state hospital before the 404 examination while they're in jail?
So there is a way for the public defenders to ask for medical necessity, but that becomes an issue because sometimes, if I say this, when they come to the hospital, we don't see a mental health issue. It might have been that they just didn't want to talk to their attorney, and it's difficult once they're at the hospital to inform judiciary, like, we believe this person doesn't need our level of care, and send them back. So does that make sense? So there is an avenue for that, but it's difficult because there hasn't been someone who is trained to evaluate mental health conditions that say someone needs the hospital level of care.
Rare.
That's kind of what we've run into,
Okay, and
Easy to get over to the hospital, and it's hard to advocate to get that.
Wow.
so if they don't get to the hospital, they'll get whatever treatment they can get at the jail.
Sorry, you cut out a little.
They don't get to the state hospital for treatment while awaiting their case, they'll remain at the jail getting whatever treatment they can get.
Yes.
Where they're murdered.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ronald.
Dusky, is Dusky right on the cusp of trial? People tend to melt down, understandably, it's stressful. The attorneys may shift around. It's hard to get along with the attorneys or not, even with real good public defenders. Do you have tools that allow you to evaluate in the, I don't know the right word, but the meltdown factor of Dusky?
Yeah.
And you don't have to give me a long answer, but because those are real hard. I'd get them on the stand, I'd warn them ahead of time, eyeball to eyeball, and then you may or may not get a meltdown. So as a mediator, I try to get some incentive.
Yeah.
And the flip side of that is no contest, which is very problematic, in my opinion. I don't know how the other judges feel. No contest sounds to me like a weird thing, legal gobbledygook. I want you to know that from my standpoint.
Okay, good, because I always get confused, or not confused, but I always have a difficult time trying to explain it, and they're like, so am I guilty? I'm like, fine. So, it's a great question though, because I think it speaks to what I didn't, add as my note, as something important to say, is that there has to be a threshold condition for competency. I can't, going to court is overwhelming. Going to court could be super anxiety provoking. And just having a kind of reaction to something that's typically could be anxiety provoking doesn't mean I'm incompetent.
Right.
Now, if I'm, having mental health symptoms, and part of that is that I'm paranoid, and I've been able to keep it from the treatment team because I don't want to stay at the student hospital anymore, and I want to pretend like I'm fine so that I get to the court, and then I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I stand up and say, I know my attorney's a liar, I know that he's, talking to the judge behind my back and hates me, that would be more of a competency issue because it's really anchored in a mental health system instead of something that I would believe is a reasonable response to something that's could be triggering, if that makes sense.
Mark? Good, thank you. Yes.
Thank you for the presentation. It's been so helpful. I just had a couple of very fast questions. Under the fitness breakdown, when you were breaking down the knowledge prong and the appreciation prong, I was just curious, are these standards kind of following national standards? Are there national standards? Yeah, I guess that's.
So this is kind of what I've taken. I've worked in Washington State and Florida, and I've kind of taken these from, this is the consistency between the states, is the knowledge fund and the appreciation fund. It's really going to what's the Dusky criteria. And states break it down in different ways. This is just how, I honestly, this is what I teach. So I was like, oh, what would I teach? Because these are the main things when I'm doing a competency assessment. This is what I'm. This is what they need minimally to be able to move forward. So it's kind of breaking out the ability to consult with counsel with a rational understanding and a factual understanding of proceedings. And that's kind of how, and I think a lot of states break it up into the two prong. I know one of the competency assessments, the evaluation of competency to stand trial, break it up in that way.
Okay.
A factual understanding, rational understanding, and consult with counsel. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then one other question on the Hawaii State Hospital chart. You had mentioned that when somebody needs to go to the Hawaii State Hospital, they're there for no less than 90 days. You're mentioning how that's in statute?
Yeah, at the 411.
Yes, for the 411. I was curious, is that reasonable? Are there folks who can potentially gain competency before 90 days? Where did the 90 days come from?
The competency doesn't have the 90 days requirement. It's just the acquits. So those are found NGR. Okay. It's not saying you're acquitted and committed, now you can leave the next day. It's saying you're acquitted and committed, you need treatment. You can't apply for conditional release for 90 days.
Oh, I see. Okay.
There have been people who have come in, we've evaluated them after 2 weeks, they've started taking medications, they've cleared up,
and
they probably are not on substance anymore. And we're like, they don't even need to be here for, 9 weeks, let alone 90 days. So.
Got it.
But anyway, you know what I mean? They don't even be, they're ready for competency now. We can ask for hearing before that.
Got it. Okay, sorry. I have one last question. For the part that says, if they're found unrestorable and civilly committed or discharged, for who civilly commits them?
The initiating person. So
okay.
Yeah.
So the panel will kind of send the recommendation to the judge and then the judge. Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, can be correct.
That's super helpful.
Before I
Jesus. Okay.
say my closing remarks, I want to see Representative Iwamoto. Do you still have your question?
I do, thank you, if I may. And I'm sorry if this was already kind of addressed. because I'm having some technical difficulties on my side. But my question was, first of all, I really appreciate the flow chart with all the arrows and what happens if this happens and what happens if this happens. What I wanted to know is a follow-up, I guess, to what Director Johnson brought up, but also what Judge Ibarra brought up, which is the timelines. What's mandatory? Where there's some wiggle room? All those arrows, what is the minimum timeline, the maximum wait? What are the choke points in the flow chart? What needs more money allocated from the legislature? What is just is a staffing issue that no matter how much money we throw, there's just not enough bodies? What is required by admin rules? What's required by statute? Is there a flow chart that has all of those dates and the authorizing whatever's authorizing that time frame?
No, and that is an awesome question that I could spend a lot of time trying to answer. The two, I think the main timeframes that we are aware of are when someone's found unfit as 406, we have 72 hours at the hospital to admit because there's been a finding of fitness, they need treatment, they need to come up. So that's the first kind of time for statute. There's other things like people who are 411, so people are 413, so they violate their CR. They have a right to a review hearing within 72 hours. They have a right to a hearing every 90 days, after the fact. That's something that would be helpful. I could definitely create a document like that and send it over, as well as kind of some of the anecdotally, what the hospital sees, what the court evaluation branch sees as major struggles in terms of getting these evaluations done efficiently and effectively. Because I do have my thoughts on that, but I definitely am able to go into a lot of detail if that would be helpful.
Yeah, we want that too.
And we want that too. And Representative Iwamoto, we'll get with you on that. Okay, thank you. George, is there a way you can put up that visual again? And while you're doing that, because I wanted to make some remarks on the visual. Doc, what is the mission of the Hawaii State Hospital?
It's to provide safe and effective treatment for court-ordered forensic patients.
Is there a number on or a pathway for community to have services from the state hospital?
Not at this point. There is. So I think we've accepted community patients, but that is an administrative decision.
So like case by case?
Case by case, and you have to consult with the administration.
And does that come through the community mental health system? If they need help, they reach out to the state hospital?
Typically the community mental health system, the emergency departments.
Okay.
I presume that population's driving whether you can accept.
That's, if unfortunate, in order to take individuals, it's just that's the unfortunate priority. If we had community beds, well, that would be great.
Okay, thank you, George.
And then
Oh, hey, this is Henry Ting with the Public Defender's Office. If I could go back just a little bit, the representative's question in terms of where resources could be laid, in my personal experience with my clients, there's minimal treatment at the facilities. They're usually just being housed or medicated until the actual doctors can, if there's a 3-panel or 1-panel for the doctors to come see them. And so there's always a short and I think it's really has to do with, my guess is it has to do with the pay for the healthcare providers to come. And my guess also with regard to the number of doctors that are available to do the 3 panels and the 1 panels has to do with that, how much they're being compensated for that. And so I think the healthcare providers are being paid more, there would be more people available to give care as well as to do the evaluations. Thank you.
Interesting. Rachel Thompson.
Thank you, Henry.
Rachel Thompson, the deputy director, sorry, deputy public defender.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Hi, good morning. Sorry, I couldn't raise my hand on the Teams function, but I would completely agree with what Henry just said. My experience working with the public defender's office is that we have spoken to a lot of the examiners for the 3 panels, and I know that the state designate's office has been really short-staffed, especially this past year has just been pretty astronomical, the short staffing issues, and it causes significant delays in our clients' cases. And I think the low pay for examiners is a huge contributing factor to why we're losing examiners and we're not getting new ones, which does create sometimes months, or even longer delays in the disposition of cases. That leads to people being kept at the hospital longer, as well as people being held in DCR custody for significant periods of time. Also, from the public defender side, we deal with clients, all from petty misdemeanors up to, serious felony cases. And it is very frustrating when oftentimes if there is a fitness issue, we have to wait significant amount of time for people that are being housed in custody, either at the hospital or at DCR, waiting for the 1 panel examinations. And I know that there's a staffing shortage issue, but a lot of times, like I think Dr. McBurdy shared, a lot of these people do spend more time in custody than the maximum penalty that they would face if they were to plead out, for example. But it's, as a public defender, you can't force your client who may be unfit to accept some kind of an offer, even if it would result in them getting released from custody sooner. So that's really kind of a struggle that we've had, is we do have clients that on petty misdemeanors are being held in jail for an excess of 30 days and are being held at the hospital in excess of 30 days. And it is really frustrating, and it's just a resource issue. One of the other things that has come up is with the Act 87, which replaced Act 26 for nonviolent petty misdemeanors. We've had an issue here in the Third Circuit where it had kind of become the practice of the judges to hold people in custody because it was convenient to complete the examination within the 7-day timeline required by the statute, which we opposed vigorously on our end. But if they have no contact information, so I understand it's difficult also to comply with the statute if they have no ability to be contacted by the examiners. But now we have a 14-day timeline under Act 87, but we're still seeing significant delays, even if people are being held in custody to get those evaluations done. And oftentimes we're coming back in 14 days. There's no report. They haven't been contacted. The people are in custody, and we have to, again, beg the judges, please let these people out. They're being held longer than the statute requires. We're not able to comply with the statute because of limited resources with the Department of Health, but our clients shouldn't have to suffer by being held in custody or being sent to the hospital. We don't have any services here that really what Act 87 and Act 26 was intended to provide for short-term mental health care. We just don't have the resources here on the neighbor islands. And so if someone is suffering some kind of a psychotic episode, we consult with Dr. Shields, who's our forensic coordinator, and we get them sent to the state hospital. But if those evaluations aren't done within the 14 days, then they're stuck waiting for a continuance to come back for the report, or they're stuck in DCR custody. And for someone who is clearly mentally ill, all of our evidence says don't put them in jail. But unfortunately, we don't really have an alternative. We have the jail or the hospital, or we let them out on the street. So I think there's just a huge lack of resources for mental health treatment, especially on the neighbor islands. And we do have a disproportionate amount of people in custody on low-level misdemeanors and petty misdemeanors who really need mental health treatment, but we have no services to give them. So that's just kind of my comments about it.
Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate all of that. I'm sorry, George, can you put that up to the screen one more time? I just have to make some final comments. This has been a great discussion and great presentation. I really didn't think that the mission of the state hospital was solely forensic. Yeah, so that's important to know and understand. A couple questions real quick. On the points in this system, put up. Is you folks collecting the data on where 404 and 406, 411? I mean, are there numbers of what's flowing through this?
Like how often or like how many?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, we could have snapshots of time and then
Right.
look up how many were
An
at
annual
the
numbers.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we might give that data to Department of
Yeah.
Health.
Okay. We'll follow up on that. When I look at this, this doesn't even count those who are actually found guilty and end up in our prisons. Which is Halava, Arizona, Wyoming, Kulan. Yeah, so that's another number we have to look at in terms of involvement of identified mental health in our system. But when I look at this, and everyone here, on any given day in Hawaii, driving around, doing our daily life, we will encounter mental health in our community. Yeah, and so when we look at this, when I see this, and understanding that the majority of the state hospital beds is forensic, and you know, we can question lengths of time and things of that nature. We're at a point in time where I question, you know, what do we have available for those who are in the community? Because we see so much of them. Yeah. What does that system look like? And what policy changes do we need to recommend or collaborate with other state agencies to say, hey, maybe DCR should take the responsibility of the Hawaii State Hospital has right now and let Hawaii State Hospital take care of the community. Yeah, we're talking about if we're going to build $1 billion jail, what is the mental health component that's going to be part of that jail that can resolve a lot of the issues the entire state is having at this time? When I look at this diagram that she put together, that's almost 300 beds. That's an entire or two housing units. Yeah, that can be implemented into the jail and then reform the entire jail system. OCCC will be the hub for all mental health issues in the state of Hawaii jails. Yeah, right now we can honestly state as a commission, and I'm going to boldly state this, everyone, that our jails are not capable of managing their mental health populations.
Great.
Yeah, there is no plan. Yeah.
But again, that mental health population is beyond what's already at the
Yes.
state hospital. We have them currently.
Yes.
So we need to, within corrections, have dedicated mental health units where
Yes.
they are getting that treatment. I don't know whether it will be in place of the state hospital because we're already got them. They're already there.
But I'm trying to advocate also for the community's needs.
Yes.
Yeah, the community needs a state hospital. We all know that. I actually thought that the state hospital was supposed to be serving the community, but no, it's designed for forensics. So it's easy to point to the Department of Health and say, that's your guys' job, and not do anything about it. Yeah. So now we have to think at a higher level and say, we need to switch responsibilities. I mean, we could still have this right here in a DCR facility in collaboration with the Department of Health.
And some states have that.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're already doing it, but you're doing it in a state hospital and in a DOH facility. Yeah. But I really kind of want to advocate for the community right now because the community is in need in creating that system. And how do we incorporate this into a DCR in collaboration with the DOH if we're going to spend $1 billion on a new facility?
And what you're saying about the community has needs, if some of those community needs can be met through the state hospital, it may prevent people from committing the crimes.
Yes.
Yes.
Our emergencies, our hospital emergency rooms are overwhelmed with mental health. And they don't have a place to divert. That's why when we drive around Honolulu, we see them walking around in paper suits. Yeah.
Downtown, everywhere.
You know, so this is where the commission is kind of going outside of its mandate, but not. Yeah, because we serve the community as well as the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation and Oversight. But I think we need to make noise about this so that people start thinking, because in the last decade of jail planning, nobody has brought up the mental health population. Yeah, nobody has brought up the issues in all the jails and the prisons and how we manage that mental health system, because they're going to be released back into the community. And if they're coming in and out, that's a telltale sign too. So that's why numbers are important. So I'm kind of looking at a higher level of what we need to do to push policy, Representative Iwamoto, to really look at responsibilities and how to reform. In order to reform the DCR's mental health capabilities, we have to support the reform of the community mental health system.
I think one of the observations that's clearly dovetails with what you've just said is the fact that every facility we've been in, we've learned, it's been reiterated, that the Department of Health is not involved in mental health in these prisons, which to me absolutely doesn't make any sense. It's not consistent with other justice systems. So that really places DCR in a bind, because they have to compete with other governmental institutions in hiring mental health staff. Secondly, they don't have the funding to be able to provide and attract the kind of credentials that you would need, particularly in that specialized surrounding. And three, ultimately, they end up with individuals who are either social workers, and I love social workers, they do a wonderful job. But in those scenarios, you really need a higher criteria of expertise and education. I mean, the standards are different too, because, for example, one of the individuals in Halava who was part of the mental health department actually was head, and is a nice and fine gentleman, is not board certified, which to me is inconsistent with every other institutional type of organization that has sort of, standards that are bare minimum. And then board certified always seem to be extremely important in terms of one of those criteria. So it's a problem, I think. I agree with you. It's not set up right now to deal with our prisons are not set up to deal with these various different mental health issues, by no means.
Go ahead, Mike.
Doctor, I'm really interested in the discussion about gravely disabled. Somebody has to be tied down and medicated or locked up. And we're getting a lot of activity now in the legislature about that. And I'm glad that our rep is here. So what has happened? Is there a trend there? Is there a trend to get more gravely disabled people actually committed or not? And I want you to speak freely.
No, it would be great. I think there were a lot of points that just really stuck with me, because if we could do some sort of collaboration and do a jail-based restoration system, there would be open beds for the individuals who would benefit from the level. I mean, Boise Hospital is secure. It's a high level of care. Some of the individuals could benefit from a jail-based restoration program, be competent in 3 months, and move forward with their case. If they had their adequate treatment.
Are they getting committed? I get these calls from dear friends whose kids have gone 100% off the rails, drugs, they've shaved their head, they're tattooed, nothing wrong with that necessarily, and they're beside themselves, and the doctors, the system will not respond.
Yeah. As long as we are required by court order to take individuals, they're speaking freely, there will be no space for community admissions.
How do they come in, on the MH6 or MH?
So they
Whatever.
could come, it's few and far between, and that's an administrative, the administration has to approve it. But if they're a court order, we gotta take it.
Yeah.
So there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
Martha?
I'm going to just put some historic perspective on this, that the territory had the Department of Institutions that started in 1939, and that had health corrections in the same department. So therefore, they were unified. It was when we became a state, they separated them. But the Department of Health continued to provide mental health services to offenders up until our consent decree. Our consent decree was settled in June of 1985, and within about 2 or 3 years, Department of Health was no longer involved. In the course of our consent decree, the state hospital went through one. And suddenly they were not able to accept those who were NGRR and others.
Right.
So you started with individual suits to get people who were kept at Hawaii State Prison as not guilty by reason of insanity because there was no room at the state hospital to move them. So this is a very complex problem. But again, as Mark was just suggesting, there are states that have the unification between health and corrections. And Florida is one state that I looked at many, many years ago, but it's like the correctional officers help provide the security, but mental health provides services. So there are examples already of these combinations.
Thank you, Martha. I'll take 2 more questions and then on. Rachel?
Rachel, are you muted? Her hand may have come down.
Are you talking to Rachel Thompson? I
Yes.
Yes, okay,
Rachel.
yeah. I had previously had my hand raised. My hand raise function isn't showing on my thing, so.
Thank you, Rachel.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Kat, are you there?
Yes, I am. Let's go back to how we got into this mess. We actually had a community mental health system that was decimated in the Lingle administration. And for 20 years, we've never built that back up. So now our fallback position is to put people who are struggling with mental health issues into jail or prison. And that is dangerous. So many people decompensate in that environment. And, the director has, clearly said, we really cannot handle mental health. We are not equipped to do that. And I think the legislature needs to really start rethinking community mental health systems. So there are places where people in the community can go and they don't have to go to, the state hospital, which is, already overburdened. So I want to remind people that we did have a community mental health system and we don't anymore. We have bits and pieces, but we have no system. And we need to really start thinking of systems thinking rather than, oh, we have a program here and a program there. It's like, no, we need a system because we have so many young people who are struggling with mental health issues. This is not going to go away, and locking people up is not the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Kat. I want to thank Dr. for being here today. Go ahead.
Wow. Thank you so much. So I'm a reporter at Civil Lead. I wanted to see after Act 26 and Act 87 that the public affairs talked about. Have you seen more people going in and out frequently at the state hospital? I think it's just anecdotally, because I'm not on all of the admissions. It is, like I think I said, it's more frequent, but it's typically similar individuals that we've seen before. So like I said, they're not there as long, so they go out and potentially commit the same type of houseless type charge like theft, criminal trespass, and then come back and then spend 10 days and then go out for a period of time and then might come back on the same issue. Which raises, I think, questions about what's based on maybe. So yeah, so from the hospital perspective, everyone is offered placement. Not everyone is inclined to accept placement. Sorry, really quickly, how has this impacted your overall systems? It's it waxes and wanes because there's technically more admissions, but there's also more discharges. So the people who might have been committed for 60 days are now only committed for 7 days. So it's interesting. I think just the admission and the census in general is a reflection also nationwide. I mean, our state doesn't have on a listserv where they ask about wait lists for people waiting from jail to hospital. Our state doesn't have a wait list. We're required to take something within 72 hours of finding. Yeah, so there's no wait list. Yeah.
Super. Thank you once again, Dr. McBreedy, for doing here. Are you going to join us on the tour?
I can. When's your tour?
Up to you. I know you might be tired of looking at us already.
No,
but,
that would be.
you know, we're going to hospital after this. It was important to us to as an entire commission, to go. Judge Ibarra has already went with us once already. And just to see the operation there and meet the staff. We want to work with you, Doc, in terms of the data that you're collecting and the system that you put forth with us. And we don't have there's a lot that was said today. A lot of information. This diagram, as complex as they are, were helpful. It's very helpful. And there's so much more that's missing from that diagram. Paint the full picture, commissioners. So hopefully by next September, we'll have some kind of strategic plan and how to move forward and prepare for the 2000 session. But thank you for all on your comments at this time. We're going to move on to item number 6, the agenda, the overview of the Oversight Coordinator report. And I'm going to ask our Oversight Coordinator / Director to give her report.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Johnson. Our report is publicly posted on our website. I'm just going to very briefly cover this so that we can move forward. I know this has been a long meeting already. Skipping right down to the death in custody section. Unfortunately, I do have a death in custody 2 report. It's not in the report as of now because the report was posted before this occurred, but on August 9th at approximately 8:55 a.m., a person in custody who is male and 63 years old was found unresponsive in a cell. Staff responded immediately, and the person in custody was transferred to the hospital. But unfortunately, on August 11th, this person was pronounced deceased, and this does appear to be a suicide. Moving forward to events attended, Commissioner Torney and I attended a pre-class graduation ceremony, which was very exciting. It was in Hilo. The department has been working very, very hard on their recruitment efforts. Right now, they have about a 33% vacancy rate, which I believe is down quite a bit from when Director Johnson has started. I think it was almost 40% when he started. So they are working hard on that, which we're happy to see and happy to support. Staff had also gone to a couple different events. They went to the Dynamic Healing Center to learn more about trauma-informed care and how they manage that there with successful reentry. They also participated in the Dismiss Charities Board meeting. This is really to learn more about what's going on in the federal system with reentry so that we can kind of learn from them and bring it home to our state system. And then staff also attended the Halava Resource Fair. This was a huge fair which hosted over 70 vendors, which is fantastic. And so people in custody can actually the booth and kind of learn about vendors in the community, learn about different things they may have access to. Also, the Hawaii Patrolling Authority participates in this, which I love because then they can explain more of their process, what they're looking for when folks are in front of the full board. It makes that process a little less scary. So we really appreciate that they participate in that. And then for projects, we are working on our complaint management system. For those of you who supported the commission's budget requests, thank you times a million, because we did secure a case management system through that budget request. And now in 2 weeks, we are preparing for a 15-week integration process where we can actually have a true management system. We can post all of our stats on our website of the complaints we're getting, the types of complaints we're receiving, the demographics of who's complaining. closed, all the different information that I know people have been really waiting for. So we appreciate everyone's patience in that. We're really excited to get moving. And I just wanted to make a brief announcement. We are hiring currently. We're hiring a prison oversight specialist who will be investigating all of our prisons, including Saguaro out in Arizona. And so if you know anybody with investigative experience or experience with the criminal justice system, and especially corrections, who may be interested in that position, it is posted on our website. I believe the posting's coming down on Monday. Yeah, Monday. So please share widely and quickly, and hopefully we can have some great applicants. Other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Where was the death in custody?
Oh, I'm sorry. It was at OCCC. Yeah, OCCC. Thank you. And that will be reported officially in our next month's report. So we'll make sure that we have that out.
What's the total now? Steps.
This year?
Yeah.
This year is definitely less than last year. I want to say this is the 5th this year. I want to say that. I'm not positive, but I'll double check, make sure I send you all the numbers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. I'll open up for public testimony on the Oversight Coordinator's report. Anyone? Hearing none. Commissioners, any questions for our coordinator?
Nope.
None. Thank you. Kristen continues to do great work with her and her staff. We want more staff so we can do more great work. So thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
Let's move on to item number 7, an overview of our tour of the Maui Community Correctional Center.
Okay, we visited Maui Community Correctional Center on Thursday, June 26th of 2025. The population there continued to be below capacity. The rated capacity is 301. In 2023, when we were there, it was 299. In 2024, 215. It was low enough they were able to close one of the units. In 2025, it's 221. Just check the population report, the most recent one today, it's up to 240. So we do have to keep our eye on, hopefully it does not increase again. What we did observe was a very cordial relationship between inmates and staff, and that included both uniform and civilian staff. And it's been one of those facilities that we continue to see this positive relationship between the two. The facility was very clean and well maintained for what they have. Remember, the first buildings opened in the mid 70s and things have been added on over that time. Doesn't mean it doesn't need updates. It's constantly being repaired, but it's still, for what they had, they kept it very good. Dorms 1 and 2 were pretrial. There were 18 inmates in there. The capacity is 40. The 18 inmates that were assigned there work in the kitchen. Dorms 6 and 7 are sentenced and furloughed. The capacity is 100, but there were only 27 there. So only dorm 6 end was being used. And we discovered that the furloughed inmates are living in the same unit with sentenced inmates. It has been the practice of the department in the past, from the time we introduced furlough, which was in, I think 78 was when we introduced it, that we did not mix furlough inmates with other inmates because it would be unnecessary pressure put on them to bring stuff back from the community. So we did express that concern. We're also very concerned that only, was it 3 inmates were participating in furlough at the time? Very low number, but this has been a continual complaint or concern that we've had about the number of people who are participating in furlough and also at our minimum security facilities. Let's see, the people in dorm 6 said they did have limited access to programs, and they were especially concerned as these these men were nearing the end of their term, that they need to get more programs that will support their transition into the community. They do not have enough activities, a constant problem we're finding. Modules A and B, which is one of the newer modules, It is a two-story facility that has 32 beds, 24 are, I'm sorry, that has 48 beds. It has, again, two-story. There were 20 or 32 pretrialers on that day and 24 sentenced. The 24 sentenced were on the first floor, the pretrialers were on the second floor. The pretrials, because of the number of cells, this meant that we had cells that were double celled and even one cell was triple cell. The inmates are not mixed in the day room, so only the pretrial could be out in the day room at one time, and then when they go back in, it will be the sentence that will be out in the day room. One thing we were happy to see, it's one of the few places where people had a much more time out of cell. 6 hours and 25 minutes a day out of cell.
Good.
Each group had 2 hours a day in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon in the day room, and then they were released for 45 minutes for each of the 3 meals in the day room. Again, the constant complaint was lack of meaningful activities and too few tablets being available. One inmate said that if they do have fights, they don't have too many fights, but they said usually fights are related to access to tablets. The tablets have a very wide range of programs. So I was sitting with one inmate that was doing a Alcoholics Anonymous, but he had not really explored it. So with me, he started exploring, and the programs are very, very extensive of what you can take. And we also had complaints about the high cost of store order. And again, this is a complaint we hear from throughout the facilities. Module D is disciplinary seg. It was designed to be maximum security. So it has 6 cells in it, and they were designed to be just 1 inmate per cell, but currently there were 10 inmates in there, so some were double cell. They just had 1 hour per day out of cell. They ate their meals in the cell. One complaint that they did, or one concern that we had, is they do not have direct access to the grievance or medical request system, which means there's not a pad sitting outside where they can grab a form, fill it out, and then deposit it into a secure box. They have to instead ask for one of these forms, and that's really bad when it has to do with grievances. The grievance box also is not in a living unit. It's by the control station through a secure door. So the inmate holds on to the grievance until there is someone available to escort them to the box so they can put it in the box. The director explained to, or director of the warden explained it was because they had a padlock on the box, and some inmates would rip the padlock off and use it as a weapon. So we have suggested, why don't you get one with a key lock or another type of lock, not a padlock. A continual concern that we have. They have no access to tablets at all, and really no activity is provided to them while they're in disciplinary seg. Module 2 and 3 have the women in them. The module 2 had a total capacity is 9, and that's because there are a total of 9 cells available. And the reason the capacity is for single cell is because of the size of the cells. They do not meet ACA standards for more than 2 inmates. So, but there were in fact in module 2, 14 inmates in those 9 cells, which means that the majority, or many of them, were double cell. One of the quads in module 2 was converted to the medical unit. That's where you have the dentist is located there, also the eye doctor and the medical staff. And it means that when men need to access the medical unit, they traipse through the day room of the women's area. And so the women have to go back to their small day rooms, but they can visually see the men. And one woman told me it's upsetting because her ex-boyfriend is one that constantly goes through, and she doesn't care for that too much. Another group that goes through every day, at least a number of times a day, are the men who are on the kitchen work line, because their dorm is outside of module 2, and so they transverse through module 2. Again, the women have to be out of the area when transversing through. We discovered with the women there were many that were severely mentally ill. And the staff mentioned while the number of admissions of women are down, those that are coming in appear to be more severely mentally ill than in the past, and also have serious substance abuse problems. Again, too few tablets and a lack of meaningful activity during the day to keep occupied. They would like to have more to do. Holding and intake is closer to the administration area, and there are cells there that were for people originally coming into the facility to have their first review done, and people that may be waiting for things to take place. These are dry cells, meaning they have no toilets or sinks in them, but they were being used for housing too often. Currently, while we were there were 3 women, 1 in each of these cells. Again, it was not designed for residential living. They're very, very dark. They're devoid of any natural light coming in, and they're very, very drab. I mean, it's like going in, you've heard of box, going in the box in corrections, something that is dark and dank. That's what it's like. It's like a dark cell. One needed is also used for suicide watch, and if someone is on suicide watch, an ACO is right in the area to take care of, to view them. I'm very pleased to announce that contact visitation has been reinstated as of April of 2025. So that's back again. We did not have time to visit kitchen, library, and education areas, so we don't have any report on that. We did not visit all the housing units. I'm going to ask Kristen to go over previous recommendations and the status of those.
Absolutely. So one recommendation that I believe we've had of since 2022 is, again, making sure that those grievance and medical form drop boxes are in all modules, and especially a module like segregation. This is particularly important because there's a federal law that requires people in custody to go through their administrative processes first before filing a lawsuit. And so, you know, it really, really impedes that process if people can't even get a form or have a safe space to drop it without worrying about staff asking questions or potentially looking at the form. It does sound like the department is now looking in department grade grievance boxes, which do not have padlocks on them. I always make sure to make it clear that there's never a situation where a padlock should be in a correctional facility. For a lockbox, for a door, for anything, because it is extremely dangerous. So I'm happy to hear that they're at least looking into other options now. The commission also had recommended to increase program opportunities. Again, this is an older recommendation that we continue to bring up. MCCC, I will say that they do a great job at least trying to make sure that what they have is consistent. Most recently, I think they had 5 graduates who graduated with their GED at MCCC, which is great. I think it's one of the few graduations we've seen happen at a jail. So what they offer, they do offer consistently. I think one of the issues is that there's just simply not enough. We witnessed a lot of idle time. And again, back to the tablets, it seems reasonable to increase the amount of tablets that are there. And it does sound like the department is looking into that now. The last recommendation here is to expand furlough utilization at MCCC. And what's really important to note here is that this isn't something that the warden at MCCC can control. When we're talking about increasing those who are on furlough, what we're talking about is looking at the system as a whole and really looking at a mix of classification, but also the amount of people who need to be transferred. And, you know, because people need to be moving from AVA to Waiava Kulani, which is minimum security, and then down to furlough so that they can really prepare to get back out into the community. And what we're seeing is that there's blockages at each step. And so we're bringing that up again. This is a issue that, you know, the department director would really need to take a deeper look at. It's not base facility, it really is a system-wide issue. But we really want to extend special thanks to MCCC and their time. The warden there and the chief security are truly, truly phenomenal professionals. MCCC is very lucky to have them, and we really appreciate what they in particular have done in the past and taking our recommendations seriously and doing the best that they can to implement them. So really appreciate their time.
Thank you, Martha and Kristen. We'll take some public comment on the.
Mark, I have one question.
Can we do the public testimony?
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Public testimony on the report given on MCCC. Hearing none, Mike?
Yeah. the issue of chaplains, chaplaincies, providing social resources, and I've heard good things when the chaplains are welcome, particularly on Maui. I had a luncheon recently with folks from the Prison Fellowship, and it really works because they're often volunteers. Many of them have been formerly incarcerated, and I just can't emphasize that enough. So I guess it's a question we need to ask more often, and if it's really working or not. The folks I met with for lunch was amazing. Of course, and they put on a good face and they make a good argument, and I believed them. So,
Thank you, Mike. Ron?
I'm good.
Yeah. Okay, Ron, you coming in broken up.
Are you talking to me or Ron?
Yeah, do you have any comments on the report, Ronald?
No, thank you, Kristen. No.
Yeah. Yeah, I just have one comment. Maui has always been a very impressive visit on the leadership and the staff and what they do with what they don't ask. Yeah. So we always a good time to hear their concerns and see the successes that they're having at this time. My concern is, and this is something that the commissioners, I want you to just think about, is that, you know, the system is clogged in regards to movement. Yeah, and we kind of seen that with the report that Dr. Gave today in terms of mental health in the state house. Yeah, system is clogged. Yeah, and when you look at leadership structure, there is certain responsibilities at mid-management level to navigate and assure that system movement is happening. When you have as many empty beds that DCR has in its minimum security facilities and in its furlough programs in every island, there is significant concern. Yeah, because if there are so many empty beds that are not being filled at the back end of our correctional system, then you're wondering whether or not any of the offenders that are being housed in Halawa and Arizona have any hope of ever getting out. Yeah. And so that's my issue right now, because that determines behavior. Yeah. That's hopelessness.
Right.
And they don't care. And then they're going to misbehave. Okay. And things happen. Yeah. So we really need to figure out how do we push DCR.
We just lost power.
That's been happening a lot.
I know. It happened to me
That's the
the
second,
day
yesterday happened
yesterday.
too.
Yeah, happened before that too. Now we got to reboot everything.
Or
Shoot.
somebody's
Oh,
telling
no.
you shut off.
We
Should
still
I
can
pull it
hear
up on
you.
my?
Personal.
They
Are
can
we
still
on?
hear us?
Yeah, we still can hear you.
Okay, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
okay,
you guys.
good.
Electricity just went off. We lost everybody. So let me go back on my bandwagon. We really need to departmental leadership to figure out why we're not managing any type of movement through the facilities. We're not trying to push people that don't deserve, but we're trying to look at why we have so many empty. Yeah, you can't talk about improving your reentry system when you have empty beds. Yeah, there's no need for a reentry system if you have empty beds.
And consistently have empty beds.
Yeah, so if you have an empty beds, then you're saying that you have no programs when as they're doing their time. I don't know, but to my fellow commissioners, I think it's been a while since we've seen these empty beds, over a year, and no improvement or any seeing of filling up these beds or any movement toward it. We've seen large vacancies in our ACOs positions, and we see movement on trying to fill those. Yeah, we have a lot of empty beds. We see no movement in trying to fill that. Yeah, so it's upon us to encourage DCR to make some kind of movement in that system to start filling beds again.
It's also part of our mandate.
Yes. Reentry is key. Reentry is key. Yeah. So with that being said, thank you for that report, Martha and Kristen. We're moving to item number 8, public comment. This is where we open up for those of you who have been sitting in our meeting for any items and concerns that you may have for the commission to look at or research. And then please keep it to 2 minutes. And I'll begin with Andrea. Hi, Andrea. We can't hear you.
You're muted, Andrea, you're muted.
There we go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so my name is Andrea, and this is my first appearance at a meeting, but I've been advocating for over 5 years since my wife is an inmate. And I'm in the process right now of getting a group together of solution-based family members. And why I'm here is because I wanted to ask if there is a possibility of getting a platform where we can communicate with the DCR and with the wardens. I think it's really important that we can have a back and forth dialogue with them because, you know, some of you who know me know that I am very thorough. I research, I communicate with other organizations within the community to get their perspectives, you know, if it's something that they would be involved in. And I want to try to take everybody's perspectives and concerns into account before we actually bring an idea to the table. And it's really hard to do that when we don't have the facility perspective. I wasn't going to go into detail at the meeting about any of the issues that we're working on, but since it has been so focused on mental health, I wanted to mention that one thing we've really been working hard on is trying to work with private providers to open up the option for inmates to be able to communicate with their own providers at their own expense from their tablets while they're in custody. Because of the serious lack of mental health care, and I've gotten a really positive response from the providers. You know, many of them can offer a sliding scale. So if the inmates are on disability or if they have family members that can pay for it, that should be really feasible. That's just one thing that I would want to be able to discuss with the facilities and see if we can find a way to make that happen. I'm really encouraged that Director Johnson's article in the Civil Beat, the recent article, said that he's interested in collaborating, because that's what we want too. You know, we're all on the same side. We want these inmates to be successful and we want them to not come back after they get released. And I feel like there's just always been a block in communication, that family members are seen as adversaries and nuisances, and we want to work to change that. So I'm hoping for a regular scheduled remote meeting or even an email, like a group email communication, if Director Johnson is willing to instruct them to respond, so that we actually can get a dialogue going and try to see if we can implement some of these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. I know you can contact us on our website email and just give us your email, and then we'll see how we can connect you with the DCR and the other networks on the same concerns that you have.
Okay.
Okay.
Kristen knows how to reach me. Thank you.
Hi, Kat.
Aloha. I've been getting a boatload of letters about the Hawaii contract monitor in Saguaro. She seems to intervene in things that are not her kuleana, like mail, like the law library, which they've now reduced to 3 hours a week. And that's really difficult. And I was speaking to somebody who's working on a lawsuit, and he said he was the only one in there. There were 6 empty slots, and yet, you know, he's limited in his time. So, and I asked him, so how do you file? And he said, well, I have to handwrite. And I said, don't you have a typewriter? Or is there access to a typewriter? And he said, I have a typewriter, but the commissary does not sell ribbons. So he's been unable to use his typewriter. So there are simple things that could easily be fixed and would give people some hope that they can move forward. And I'm really concerned. She seems to be intervening in mail, in medical issues, and grievances. And, you know, her job is to make sure that the contract is complied with. So I've started just recently getting emails from families about her because the people are so frustrated. So I asked at one meeting if she comes to Hawaii once a year, if the legislature or the commission or both could hold a meeting where the community would be allowed to ask questions. That would be so helpful. We pay her salary, and she should be accountable to the community that pays her salary and the people for whom she advocates. So I'm just asking one more time, can we please set up a meeting when Jennifer Beckler comes to Hawaii for her once a year visit? Thank you.
Thank you, Kat.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's a lot of hands up.
Thank you for your continuing advocacy on this subject, Kat. We'll do a commitment to have a response for you by our next meeting, and we'll work on that in the meantime. Thank you. Ronald? Ronald, we can't hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it.
Ronald, you're on mute.
Can you unmute him?
No, we can only mute people.
Morning, Ron.
Ron, can you unmute your mic?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Ronald Fujiyoshi for Ohana Hopakele. I want to thank the commission for the last meeting where you put on the agenda the 3 items: a compassionate release, second look, and good time. I'm appreciative of the conversation from the commission and people who participated, and what I wanted to really focus on was the lifers without life without parole, because I think the 3 that we were talking about basically do not refer to life without parole, because they are not allowed to participate in certain programs that make it difficult. So I'm hoping that the commission has on its agenda to invite the new head of the paroling authority, because I think not only by legislature but administrative changes that some of these compassionate release and other things can be improved. And so if we can have a dialogue, I think that will open up other possibilities. Of course, you should know that Ohana Hopakele has, since 2003, November, had 2 of our officers who were key members of the first opening ceremony of Makahiki at Watonga, at the Diamondback prison that was run by now Core Civic in Watonga, Oklahoma. And so that Ohana Hopakele has consistently been working with incarcerated men who wanted to practice their religion, to help with participation and curriculum of the Makahiki. Now, we know that some of the participants and even the leaders are members who are having life without parole. And so we want to pursue this and hope that the commission can work with us, as well as people who are attending your hearings, that we can work together on bills that we can submit to the next or future legislators, that open up the possibility of having these people who are participating in cultural-based programs that are helping them, but they don't have the easy access to hope on getting out in the future. So thank you for all your work, and we hope that we can work together. Especially last time, there were 2 children of Bo Stanley, who was one of them, And I think one of the persons was related to Chico Santiago, who first spoke. So I think these people are model people who should be allowed ability to get out. So we would love to work with others, with the commission and with the department to help promote these avenues for being released. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Ron. That's a great idea in regards to the paroling authority. We'll reach out to Jean DeMello and see how we can make that happen as a presentation for us. Thank you. And just so you know, the commission has been doing some behind the scene work on the compassion release and the second
Community
look.
Mhm.
punishment.
What do I call it?
Second look sentencing.
Second look,
Second look sentencing.
second look sentencing, as we prepare for the next legislative session. Thank you, Ronald. Terina, are you there? Panga?
Aloha kako.
Aloha.
My name is Terina Fa'angao. I'm a staff attorney at Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation. And thank you for having Ron go first, because that was a nice lead-in as well. I just wanted to take a quick minute of your time to mahalo everybody for the efforts of the commission, and especially as it pertains to Native Hawaiian traditions and customs that are exercised by Pa'ahau within the system. We've seen this commission be receptive and thoughtful and show support, especially for organizations like Ohana Ho'opakele. And we also wanted to express our support for Ohana Ho'opakele and the efforts, as Ron talked about, especially with Makahiki, and Makahiki season feels like it's always coming up once one ends, which we were fortunate to be able to go to the saguaro and halava closing ceremonies, and happy to see that that's been able to continue since it started, as Ron said, decades ago now. But yeah, we just wanted to express that we are continuing to work with Ohana Ho'opakele to support cultural programming, as he said, and to support our Pa'ahau in that way. And we're very appreciative of the commission as well for continuing these efforts.
Hello, mahalo, Terina. Thank you for being there and for those words. Appreciate you. Yeah. Moving on, Tony, are you there?
I am. I don't know what's going on with my camera. But I wanted to just follow up and ask if there was any update. I know ACLU was working on a campaign for getting folks back from saguaro, and I know during this meeting you folks have mentioned a number of vacancies at our other jails and prisons. Has there been any change or any movement or any discussion about moving the men back from saguaro to Hawaii?
No, I'm going to say no. There's been no formal announcement of saying that we're going to move in a direction to move back the men from saguaro. That's the best way to answer that at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Tony, for bringing that up, though. It is a concern, and we believe it's something that may be brought up. We just don't know how yet in the next legislative session. We'll keep you in tune. Thank you, Tony. Rachel?
Hi, thank you. And thank you guys for all the work you're doing. I know I've met with Ms. Johnson in the past, and she's been very insightful and instructive about ways that we can continue to work with the commission to advocate on behalf of our office. One thing I did want to bring up to the commission is the ongoing issues as far as communication with clients on the Oahu facilities for the neighbor island offices. We cannot fly over to go visit our clients. When we call Halava or OCCC, we are not able to call and speak to our clients. We have to leave a message and hope that they have money in their books, or they can get, or our direct numbers are on their PANS list so they can call us back. We're not able to schedule appointments with them. So it makes it really difficult to communicate with any of our, pre-trial or sentence clients that have been transferred to Oahu. So that's one thing. The second thing with respect to communication is HCCC, for all the things that it does lack for our clients, we are able to relatively easily get in touch with them. We have numbers to all of the direct housing units, and we can typically call. Sometimes we have to call multiple times a day to be able to speak to our clients, but we are able to actually call a particular housing unit, and they can go call the person and bring them to the phone. So that is one thing that I think HCCC is trying to do to allow us to speak to our clients. However, we do have an issue. It's been a persistent issue. The Department of Corrections doesn't believe that certain court hearings that are scheduled for clients are ones that they have to go to. So like pretrial conferences or status conferences, the Department of Corrections will not send inmates for those scheduled court hearings, which is really frustrating for our clients in custody, because a lot of times at a pretrial conference, that's when a case can be resolved. There's ongoing plea negotiations and things like that. But if the clients aren't transported, if we can't reach them on the day of, because sometimes we get plea offers at the last minute, we aren't able to communicate anything meaningful at the pretrial conference, and things have to be delayed. So if there is a way for the Department of Corrections to comply with, court hearings, I know that they don't believe that certain hearings are appropriate, but if the court is scheduling a hearing, the sheriffs should pick them up and bring them to court. There shouldn't be an issue about whether the warden believes that they should or shouldn't be transported. If they have a court hearing, they should be expected to be transported to court. For example, and I'm not sure if this is different in the other circuits, but for the Big Island, I know in Hilo and Kona, inmates are not transported to court for like further proceedings or pretrial conference hearings, which is unacceptable. I've had several conversations and tried to complain directly to the warden. We've brought it up with the judiciary. We used to be able to schedule like a status conference with defendant present, which was kind of a quasi hearing to have them brought to court. But then DCR has refused to do that. So unless we send specific instructions for some kind of a substantive type of hearing, they won't bring the defendants to court, which I've brought this issue up a number of times over the past few years, and it's very frustrating. Part of the reason why it's helpful if they're brought to court is because for the Kona office, we have to drive an hour and a half to the facility to be able to visit our clients. And we've been short-staffed pretty chronically for the last few years, and so we have very limited time to actually be able to do that. And it leaves the weekends to be able to go do jail visits. The jail visits happen in the cafeteria, so it's not a private, confidential setting, and there's other inmates or staff walking around. And so that has been something that we've brought up as a concern. So if they're brought to the courthouse, we do have a private attorney conference room, so we can actually have a meaningful discussion and engage in a confidential consultation with our clients, review sensitive discovery, videos, photos, etc. So that's another reason why bringing them to court for these status conferences or for their pretrial conferences is really helpful, so that we can actually have a meaningful discussion with our in-custody clients. So I just wanted to raise that as kind of an ongoing issue. We've tried to triage it with the judiciary, but it's still an ongoing concern that we have.
Rachel, I was concerned to hear you say, with a lot of what you had to say, but particularly that if your offenders are located on Oahu, that you have to wait until they have enough money to buy time to participate, to get in touch with you?
That's what my clients have reported. I've had people that have said, "Oh, we tried to call you, but I didn't have money on my books." And so the client shouldn't have to pay to contact their attorney. They shouldn't have to wait weeks or months to get their court-appointed counsel put on their PANS list. There should be automatic access to all public defender offices in the state, and all of the court-appointed counsel offices should also be automatically added to the client's PANS list if they do have conflict counsel. Because I do think that that's really problematic if people are being denied access to their attorneys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel, for those concerns. We'll follow up. Thank you, community, for your concerns at this time. Commissioners, just let me bring this meeting to a closure. Just a few announcements. We will be, the commission will be touring OCCC as a follow-up tour September 4th as a group. And then our next meeting, Thursday, September 11th, will be back at the office in Honolulu, the Leo Papa Kamehameha building at 9 o'clock. And after that commission meeting, we will be touring the Women's Community Correctional Center. So that's our next two tours before we meet again. And then any other questions from the commissioners before we close our meeting? Hearing none. We're about to go up the hill now to see the state hospital. Thank you all for being here and having this great discussion. A lot of follow-ups to do afterwards, but we appreciate your presence here and just being with us in our journey of reform. Aloha and mahalo. Mahalo.
Yeah.
Thank you.